Well, a heartfelt good evening to all our friends and followers of the Western Cape Teachers Forum, and welcome to the first online show for 2021. This is a platform where we educate to empower and excel. Now, someone was quoted as saying that losing a teacher is like losing a library. And so at this stage, allow us to express our deepest and sincerest condolences to all the affected families and school communities that has lost loved ones as a result of this pandemic and otherwise. We certainly trust that this new year will be far easier on all of us as we navigate these uncertain times. Now, please stay tuned until the end of this program as we'll pay tribute to some of our fallen heroes after the show. Now, tonight we have invited both CEOs of the South African Council of Educators, or SACE as it's called, as well as Mr. David Millar from NAPTOSA Western Cape to join us this evening as they share some thoughts around the current state of affairs around education in our country. Now, to start off with SACE, SACE is the regulatory body of educators practicing their profession within the borders of South Africa, whether you're working in private or public institution. And on the other hand, NAPTOSA is one of our teacher unions in the country, providing workplace protection, collective bargaining on condition of service, and professional development, to mention just a few of their work or service offerings. Now, to kickstart this evening's conversation, Ella, I'm going to ask you to explain to us, in line with SACE's motto that reads, towards excellence in education, how does Council seek to realize this goal in a time like this?
Good evening to our Western Cape Teacher Forum educators. SACE is a professional council for all educators in the country, as Lee has already indicated. Given the fact that the country is going through a pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, obviously it means us shifting the gears also, moving into the new normal. And one of the things that we are striving to do is to make sure that we strengthen our ICT. Obviously, we are servicing 500,000 teachers across the country, and therefore it means in terms of registration, which is one of the key priorities, there's a need for us to make sure that we move towards registering all educators offsite. And in line with that, we've got an online registration system. I know educators are used to walk-ins, are used to face-to-face, and we're trying by all means to move them away from that and make sure that they move towards online registration system. Obviously, also in terms of the CPTD management system, it means more and more we need to make sure that our platforms are working, are functional, and therefore educators can be in a position to be using that. Also, we've got a mandate to advise the minister. We've got a mandate to make sure that teachers are supported. And in line with the advisory road, one of the things that we're doing, we developed a program on teacher rights, teacher responsibilities and safety, to say there are issues of violence that we've been experiencing in schools. There are issues around COVID-19. There are a whole lot of other new things that have come into our schooling space. And therefore, we developed a handbook that will be released not long to say to the teachers, these are your rights if you are working within this kind of an environment. These are your rights if we experience violence from the learners, violence from the teachers. And these are your rights if you feel that you are not safe from COVID-19 perspectives in terms of some of the things that you're supposed to be doing. And interestingly, we ran a survey on issues around COVID-19 and how can we support teachers. Western Cape was #1 in terms of the feedback that we received. And we are using that information to make sure that we realign our programs, we realign our processes, so that we can make sure that we really service educators to the core. And part of our teachers' rights, responsibilities and program also is to say at the end of the day, when it's done, we need to say, as advisory part from SACE to the minister, we have safety policies, we have safety protocols and guidelines for learners. But it's about time that we say we need a safety policy that will be mandatory across the country, specifically for teachers, so that we can begin to look into protecting our teachers and making sure that they are safe in the environment that they are working in.
All right, that was quite a mouthful. Thank you very much. Now, just very quickly, Ellen, for the benefit of our new teachers or new entrants in the system, can you teach without a SACE certificate in this country?
No, not at all.
So you need to be SACE.
It is mandatory for all the educators in the country to register with council prior to their, and I'm emphasizing prior to practicing in our schools. And we are really urging all principals to make sure that when they receive new educators in their schools, they need to make sure that they are registered. We do register them from 4th year provisionally. So what they are doing now, especially during this month in January onwards until June, is to bring their results, so that on the basis of their results and the graduate certificate, we can then give them the full registration status, and then we welcome them officially into the profession as qualified, fully qualified professional educators, by the way, who are fit and proper to work in our schools, because we take seriously the issues of ethical standards, and therefore the issue of police clearance is to make sure that our teachers are really fit and proper. But we are taking another step forward in terms of working with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development in terms of vetting against the National Sexual Offenders Register, so that we show that when you come into our classrooms, we are proud to say to the nation, these are our national assets, and you can be sure that they are fully qualified, because SACWA is also going to come into place in terms of verifying their qualifications. You can also be proud from an ethical perspective that they are fit and proper. You are not going to be having challenges with your children. I know there are minor glitches here and there with registration system because of COVID-19. We are not used to work under this kind of circumstances, but as far as possible, we are trying by all means to make sure that we move towards electronic measures, and I think that's where we are moving a little bit slow, because we are used to working. Lastly, before I take all of your time, just to indicate that before June, we will be having the SACE provincial office in the Western Cape, and we will be able to communicate to the stakeholders, our teacher unions in the province, and also everyone, to say we will be launching it on this date. We've already secured a building in the city, not far from the Western Cape Provincial Education Department. We will announce officially, so that the teachers in the province will not be traveling long distances, will not be struggling in terms of the SACE service, and it will just come from them, from the city center. Thank you.
Well, that is most certainly welcoming news, the fact that the Western Cape is finally getting its own SACE office. Now, to bring David into the conversation here. Now, David, why would you say that it's a good idea for teachers to become unionized?
Ali, it's essential. You know, I can use my own experience as an example. Being a principal of 13 years at Norman Henswood High School down in the Deep South. And congratulations on your promotion to deputy principal in the Deep South as well. I'm really, really proud of you. I always said to new teachers coming in, you have a choice of 3 unions. It's always important to join a union to protect yourself from me. I always said from me as principal, because really I'm the employer. I represent the head of education at the school. So it was really a case of make sure that you have that insurance policy. It's very, very important. But more than that, teacher unions today, the 3 unions in this province, do so much professional development that you can access that professional development. And then just a reminder to teachers out there, if you don't belong to a union, you have an agency fee that gets deducted from your salary every month anyway, and that money is divided equally, and then each union gets your money. But when it comes time to being represented, if you've been naughty, you need progressive discipline representation, or you have a disciplinary hearing with the WCD, then you need a union that is going to represent you, not necessarily defend you. I mean, we've got to watch our words here, because some of the things that we always talk about defending our members. Yeah, and I suppose we do defend our members, but it's more about representing our members. So it is critical in a country where labor rights are really first class, top quality, to choose a union, which really is your professional home that you'll feel very welcome in.
Now, whilst we on the issue of union membership or, belonging to one, what makes NAPTOSA different from any other union in this country of ours?
Yeah, I think it would be pretty arrogant to say that we're better. We've got a good relationship with the other two unions in this province. Much the two unions have for one another. Well, let me say, I believe that because we're not politically aligned, we don't take any party political position, which allows us a degree of autonomy. Some might say, yeah, but you veer more towards the center of left or center of right, which is not true. Unions in this province in particular, and I've got to be very careful because I know the unions, I know the people in the unions, SATU and SAWE, but one thing that I believe sets us apart is this ability to engage with the employer, I say on a neutral field, without any political interference, any political allegiance. And that's important because then you can hold the employer accountable. You can hold the state accountable for the decisions that it makes.
Let's focus back to Ella. Ella, tell us, how has the current global pandemic affected the work of the council?
Technically, it meant we must regulate from our own houses. It meant we do not take walk-ins into our buildings because, like I said before, the majority of our educators believe in service, in walking in and being serviced and get away with a certificate immediately after registration. And it meant that had to fall off. And try as much as possible encourage educators to move towards online registration. But also the other critical area, it meant justice delayed on the part of the children because we are not able to do the cases the way that we were supposed to do in terms of investigations, in terms of disciplinary hearings. Parents are not free to release their children because of COVID-19, but also traveling across the country and being able to sit in a disciplinary hearing means something else. And therefore, that part of the work is highly affected. Also, we are running the Continuing Professional Teacher Development System, the CPTD system, which I think you know very well. Part of us going out in terms of reaching out to the educators, supporting them on the ground, has been affected quite a lot, and therefore we are not doing well as we're supposed to if it wasn't because of the COVID-19. So those are the areas that have been affected very well, and that is why I'm saying we are strengthening the ICT aspect so that more and more we can be in a position to service educators even better. Well, as much as it's an inconvenience currently in servicing educators, but it's an opportunity in terms of us looking into our services, looking into our operations, how we're doing things, and try as much as possible to improve and do even much better for the educators.
All right, Ella, I wanna just go back to the comment that you made earlier around the Teachers' Rights, Safety and Responsibilities program that you guys have launched in, I think, March of 2019. And you rightfully so mentioned that a handbook was developed to be released at the end of 2019. Now, talk to us about this program or this intervention and the success thereof. How do you measure the success of such an intervention?
One of the greatest thing that came out of that particular handbook is that for the first time we're having a product that is written by the teachers for the teachers. we did not come up with ideas from heaven or from wherever, from the ivory tower in Centurion. We went across the length and breadth of the country and make sure that teachers give us inputs in terms of what is it that they want to see happening in terms of their rights, what is it that they want to see in terms of their responsibilities, and also in terms of the safety. But over and above that, what we did once the handbook was developed, we took it to the South African Human Rights Commission to say, as the custodian of the rights in the country, they need to look into the handbook, give us the inputs so that we can refine it and finalize it on the basis of that particular area. So for the first time in the country, we are having a handbook that will guide and capacitate our educators in terms of their rights, because for a long time, they've been arguing that we are looking at the rights of the learners. Everything that we are doing in terms of school safety is about the learners, it's about other role players in the school community, but we forgot about the teachers. And for me, it has been a very good exercise, because then the teachers came back and claimed their space, and we recognize them. We managed to produce something that is speaking to their hearts. And I can't wait in the next coming a month or so, we'll be releasing it to say, here it is. We'll call the stakeholders, national stakeholders, to say, here's the final product, give it a final say, and then we release it to the educators. The idea at the end of the day is to have capacity building sessions. Obviously, face-to-face would not work that much, but we are looking into an online program that will be some sort of a course that will be developed out of the handbook, so that educators, wherever they are, can be in a position to engage with that particular handbook.
All right, that's fantastic to hear. Let's hope that thing kicks off with much success. David, let's quickly talk about NAPTOSA's position, where they very recently changed their slogan from "Teach with Dignity" to "Serve with Dignity." Now, what has prompted such action?
Sorry, Lee, I muted myself. It's been a bit of a tamaleki for a while, because, we're not a teachers' union. We're a union for those who work in education and in the sector. So we have nurses, we have psychologists, we have social workers, we have school secretaries, school janitors. And, as you know, at National Congress last year, a decision was taken that we had to change the logo. And that is, your entire brand rises and falls on what you believe in. Now, teach with dignity can be completely included in serve with dignity. So what we're saying, that anyone in the education profession must serve with dignity. That's important. What hasn't been removed is the whole notion of dignity. So whether it's teach or serve, it really doesn't matter. We're inclusive in terms of our logo. Initially, NAPTOSA, was an amalgamation of many teacher unions that mainly serve teachers. But as NAPTOSA has grown tremendously throughout the country, with a footprint in this province in 1,373 schools, we felt a very strong need to move from teach with dignity to serve with dignity. Because when you're in education, you serve. Servanthood must become you. So we felt it was necessary as a union, as organized labor, to slightly amend the logo.
Yeah, No, I completely agree with the all-inclusive approach. Now, according to scientists, David, we in the heat of a second wave of COVID-19 with a total case load of around 1.3 million, if not more. And so I believe NAPTOSA supports the delay of the reopening of schools.
We do. We were a little bit upset that we had to ask the DBE for a meeting, Lee. That really was a bit of a shock, where the unions got together, 5 teacher unions in the country. We had a meeting a few nights ago. And then, of course, the press conference, which was held two days ago. Of course, we support, because schools are very, very, they're dynamic places. I listened to Professor Karim, who advises the president. He's a South African citizen, second to none. And if Professor Karim says that he's worried about teachers, then we've got to stand up, sit up, take notice, and say, hold on. This is the science that we've got to have an issue, then we need to make sure that we stand up and we take notice. So it's not just about children coming and going. This is about children coming and going and interacting with whole communities of people. There's a heck of a lot of activity. And we know that the primary school kids, they're safe. We know that they're safe. There's very few cases there, but it's the high school, ages 14 and upwards. And when this new variant, the South African variant, which, by the way, Dr. Fauci in America mentioned the other night on CNN, he said the South African variant, now the South African variant is 501v2. It's far more infectious. You see in a country, 2,000 teachers having passed away. In December, in this entire country, we had 20,000 deaths from COVID. In the first week of January, we've already had 12,000 deaths. Today, I was getting message after message of teachers, curriculum advisors passing away, circuit managers on ventilators. So it just stands to reason that if we've appointed scientists to advise us, we have to take the scientists' advice. Any loss of learning is lamentable. I'm the first to say any loss of learning is lamentable because the only way to get around this is to vaccinate. And teachers must be prioritized in this league. Important. The consequences of this extended missed or what people call impaired education, those losses are incredibly steep. So absolutely, we're in this together. Schools shouldn't open until the 15th of February. And between now and the 15th of February, let's see what Professor Karim advises, and let's see what the National COVID Command Council says to us. I have had some complaints from our members saying, we're ready to open. Why are you doing this? And with great respect, I want to say to all teachers, ladies and gentlemen, this is not about your school. We are not islands. We are a huge system, and not every school has the kind of privilege that some of our schools have. And as difficult it is for some to swallow, it's a bitter pill that we've extended it by 2 weeks. We need it to safeguard the lives of teachers. And don't talk to me about livelihoods, Lee. Dad who's alive, than a dad to work who has his salary deducted. Because if he's dead, he can't provide a salary anyway, or a mom for that matter. So absolutely, I think it's been a great decision. And I think Professor Karim needs a really doff of the hat there to say, thanks for thinking of teachers. And throughout, especially the second wave, and 7 of the provinces yet, I think Western Cape's the only one it's peaked, and we're starting on a downward trend.
All right. I think I've missed some of your input there because of a signal issue. I'm not too sure, but nevertheless, Ella, let's talk about the dates now. Some principals feel now we know that there were new dates that were announced around the reopening. So the 25th of January, the SMT members goes to school. The 1st of February, it would be the teachers, and the 15th the learners. Now some principals feel that it is unnecessary to have the teachers or the SMT members report for duty on the 25th because they've already done planning last year for this year. Your thoughts on that one?
I think I agree with them. I mean, the 25th, it's around the corner. It's as good as like the deputy minister was not even supposed to have announced that there's a delay. I mean, for them, it's a delay of 1 week, technically. So I agree because really, they are correct. Much of the planning has already been done. The only maybe sticky issue might be the fact that we've lost many educators, as Dave has already indicated, and that will be something that could be worked out between the planning units in the departments, because obviously the principals will be able to send that information to the department for the departments to be able to work out how are we going to deal with the replacement, the provisioning norms, and all those kind of issues. I agree it was not necessary for really to say those the SMTs in particular should be going to school on the 25th.
All right, if David Millar, yeah.
I think it's a little bit early. Even the
All right.
the 1st of February for me is still a bit early for our own teachers that are supposed to be going back at that time.
All right, thank you for that. So if David Millar was the principal of a school right now and his SMT members' reports were due on the 25th of January, how would he have allocated or used the 15 days extra work days prior to the learners arriving at the school? Okay, I think Dave, can you hear me?
You sound a bit like an alien. I think I picked up just a little bit of what you asked me there. Can you hear me, Lee?
Yes, now I can. We seem to be having intermittent connectivity challenges.
I can hear you.
All right, perfect.
Lee, I'll just repeat what I said to the head of education of the province today. Going back on the 25th is far too early for SMTs. Really, I'm not sure when the DBE, when Dr. Maoli said that she'd consulted and the DBE had consulted, they hadn't consulted around the dates for return. And as I said to Brian today, Brian Schroeder, SG, can we not have the SMTs back on the 1st of Feb, the teachers back on the 8th, and then the children back on the 15th? Because I had to don my principal's cap. I was principal for 13 years, as you know. And I'd hate to think that I got teachers traveling and ground staff traveling, and many ground staff members use public transport, even teachers. The virus spreads with people. So if you're putting 400,000 and you're putting the public servants into the system, I can tell you now, my circuit manager would support me, Mr. D.V. Naidu, who I had for many years, and Rodney Tace before that, and Greg Flopman. They were superb. They didn't micromanage me, Lee. I always stayed within the framework of what was allowed. Actually, never in a million years dream of bringing all my teachers back on the 1st of February. I just wouldn't do it. I would stagger it because most planning and preparation has been done last year. So we've got to be very careful that we don't try and micromanage this. The whole point of a district office is to support its schools. They can't just be compliance centers. So I'm hoping that the SG in his follow-up letter, and this is no pressure if Brian Schroeder gets this information, says to school principals, use your discretion, says to circuit managers, allow the principals to use their discretion so that they can bring people back. I know of a school that's got 100 staff members. Why would you want to bring them all back when all their planning and preparation is done for the previous year? What I would like to see in the week leading up to the children returning is that every child has their textbook. Any small orientation sessions that need to be done are done that week without having huge groups of learners back. But we cannot afford, when we get back on the 15th, to sit children down and say, here's your timetable, here's your teacher. We're just wasting time. The rubber hits the road in the classroom. So by the 15th, I'm hoping in that week leading up to the 15th, we don't have any situation where children haven't got the necessary support material, that when they walk in, they've got their timetable and they're ready to roll. All
right. There you have it. Now, we were going to cover so many other issues here tonight, but I see that our time is almost, we're almost nearing the end of our segment. I just quickly want to show one or two comments of our faithful friends and followers of our platform. And we first have Mr. Ridwan Ahmed, and he says, greetings, all awesome to see you, David. They say Ridwan is, of course, from the provincial office, NAPTOSA in the Western Cape. And then Ruth Bowles says, greetings, good evening to you. And then somebody mentioned, we apologize for the sound, unfortunately, Lucinda. I think it was a connection issue earlier. And then I see we've got an international viewer, Namibian Teacher Union watching, Namibian National Teacher Union. Wow, thank you for joining, Oswaldo. And then somebody mentioned something. Oh, yes, Diane Morgan. She's the principal at Windsor High School in the southern suburbs of the Western Cape. And she says teachers are struggling to get their SACE certificates Ella, do you quickly want to comment on that one, just very, very briefly before I move on?
Yes, I think it's the same issue that I was indicating earlier on, that with the move to online registration and all that, we are having technical problems. But I would send you, Lee, the email that they can send their queries directly to, which will be able to assist and resolve quickly. So let me take the opportunity to say, I'll give it to you, and you will see how do you share that information with the
Perfect. I appreciate it very, very much. And then Maricel, good evening, and especially Mr. Millar. Join NAPTOSA, you won't regret it. And yes, Mr. Millar is extremely knowledgeable, and his response is same day, if not instantaneossly. Well, thank you. There is a praise report, Mr. Millar. And then Ridwan, he's saying, says George Murasu, I apologize for the incorrect pronunciation. He's kept quite busy at SACE. We do have an excellent working relationship with SACE in this regard. Thank you for that. And then obviously the comment just keeps coming in. Don Peterson is saying, Satu is also watching, and we have arranged many sessions with SACE, assisting teachers with certification and so forth. And so, colleagues, unfortunately, I won't be able to flag or to display all comments, but please feel free to continue to engage with us on the platform as we move along. Now, colleagues, as we draw to a close, very quickly, let's just very briefly touch on the vaccination issue. Now, there are so many conspiracy theories around, the vaccination, where one suggested that global elite Bill Gates has intentionally created or developed a vaccine with 5G tracking chips to control human beings. Ella, your thoughts around that one?
It's a difficult one, this one. But I support the vaccination of our educators. And I support the fact that they need to be prioritized. I understand the country can start with the health workers because they are frontline people that are assisting us. But honestly speaking, our teachers should be second. I don't personally, I don't believe in those conspiracy theories and all that. I still believe that vaccination should be done throughout the education system so that our teachers can be safe and be able to continue as the national assets with their work without any disturbance. Thanks.
Thank you very much, David. As the country have lost almost 2,000, if not more, teachers and education sector workers, that certainly has a huge impact on teacher or educator wellness. Do you believe that enough is being done to address fatigue and the psychosocial support issue around educators?
Leah,
okay, I think
you've frozen. I never got that question if it was meant for me.
Okay, I think it was for you, but maybe if Ella can pick it up and you can maybe just add. I was talking about the issue of psychosocial support for teachers, and is enough being done to address that particular aspect? Okay, Ella, maybe you can jump in here.
I think from my side, there isn't much that has been done. I know the Department of Basic Education, together with NECT, started a program on psychosocial support, which is a very good program. They've developed material, they've trained the first grouping that will be able to go back to the provincial education departments and capacitate educators even more. And this is the area that I even said we are going to be collaborating more with the department and also with NECT, because we need more people working on this. We need to scale it up, because with the department only working on it is not going to assist us a great deal. But we need it like yesterday. In fact, if we are going to open schools, it means we need to put even more resources, time and energy into the psychosocial support for educators. They've lost their loved ones, they've lost families, they will be coming back with anxiety, with fear, with uncertainty. And therefore, if we are not prepared from that perspective and focusing more on core curriculum issues, we'll be losing it as a country. We need to really take care of our educators. Thanks.
All right, David, are you back with us at this stage?
Lee, if I can add.
Yes.
Yeah, if I can add there, Lee, I'm hoping that when we get back to school, you know, and this question was asked yesterday, things will not be the same. You're going to have children returning and their favorite teacher has passed away. You have teachers returning and their best friend at school has passed away. So mourn those losses, and empathy has to be the value that we embrace in those first few weeks, even first month, because it's not going to be business as usual, having lost so many people over the Christmas holidays. So that kind of psychosocial is very important. And then just to move back to the vaccination issue, which and I want to raise this point, Lee, people are saying, oh, it's a difficult decision. The doctors and the nurses must come first. And I fully agree. The doctors and nurses must be vaccinated because they're dealing with those patients directly. But for me, it's not a first or a second for our teachers. What should not be different is the decision to do everything in our power of the next generation. The only way we do this is by safeguarding those responsible for opening up that future for them. And that's the education. So that is critical for me. Fortunately, nothing has the luxury of staying the same.
Yeah, David, I'm sorry to interrupt you if you can hear me. There appears to be
just as a national treasure.
Yeah, there appears to be a continuous issue around the connectivity where you're concerned, and I'm hoping that our colleagues have caught the gist of what you're trying to say. Perhaps offline we can ask you just to repeat some of those things, and I'd be more than happy to upload your individual message if we didn't get everything that you wanted or wished to bring across. And my apologies for that this evening. This is the technology that we're dealing with, and we don't always have the control over that. So my apologies, and I think we've lost David all completely now. Ella, are you still with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So colleagues, yeah, I think, you know, there were so many other things that I wanted to touch on, but our time is fast spent. And so David, and in his absence now, and I'm hoping that he comes back. Ella, thank you for the discussion this evening and availing your time and for sharing your heart and your thoughts so freely. We wish you every success in your respective roles at your institutions that you lead. And I hope that you will continue to sell hope to our educators and teachers and learners. You know, may you stay safe. May God bless you as you continue to make a meaningful and significant change in the lives of the people that you lead. Now, that is all we have time for tonight, folks. We are going live again on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock when we're dealing with Mr. Oh, David is back. Yeah, when we're dealing with Mr. Jonathan Rustin of SACE at 7 o'clock.
Yes, sorry about that.
Thursday evening, and so please join in. He will obviously share his perspective from the institution that he leads, and so that proves to be a successful or an interesting one. David, is there any final concluding thoughts that you want to share? I know we had some connectivity issues from your side. Yeah, it appears to be a ongoing one. All right, colleagues, so thank you again once again for everybody that joined in tonight. That's all we have time for, as I said, and so we will play you out with a video tribute of some of our colleagues that we've lost mostly as a result of this killer virus. Please stay safe and God bless.